Alright guys, part 4. ASH 26 aileron install. We just got done screwing up on this exact placement of the servo. So now we're going to go ahead and get a new piece of 3M tape on there. We were just getting ready to glue it and I realized that I had put it on there a little bit cockeyed. And I went through the gut-wrenching decision-making process to go ahead and redo it. So, now that we're done with that, we're in the process of applying a new piece of 3M tape, which needs to be trimmed just a touch. And then when we're done sticking it down, we can make sure our fit's perfect. Then we can glue it with hot glue like we've done in past installations. Sorry about the delay on that, guys. It's like I've said numerous times with crashes with RC airplanes, and you learn a whole lot more from screwing up than you do from getting it right. You just have to deal with the consequences of the screw up if you do screw up. So, you know, of course it's better to not screw up. Okay, so it's stuck on there now. I'll get you guys a little bit of zoomage. Okay, it's stuck on there now. So now let's see the sweep. That sweep is square. That sweep is square and it is good. Okay, so now one other thing I gotta do is I gotta take just a little bit of material here. That pocket's not quite even on both sides. Okay, so we're good there. Very nice. It's now time for some hot glue. Making sure I have my Q-tip ready this time. I didn't have it ready the first time. That is if it's here. I swear I just laid it here though. Don't know where it is. I'll be right back with another Q-tip. So, the rationale behind the Q-tip is that you can spread the hot glue without burning your fingers constantly and perpetually. But there's a number of other good products for that. Okay. You got that glued. Grab the Q-tip, pull it back, pull it up a little bit. Grab it, pull it up. Grab a little bit of hot glue. You want to remove a little bit of the hot glue. You don't need tons of hot glue to hold this on here. It's already held, as you can see from the 3M double-sided tape. Okay, so we'll just get that wrapped up in the Q-tip, wiping a little bit of it upward. And we're going to wipe just a little bit off the side there. We don't want that to be an issue when we throw that down on the airplane wing. Okay, so now one thing we've got to do is we need to reinforce underneath here where there's going to be an absence of material to bite it. There's the Q-tip. I knew it was right there, guys. Okay, so we got our Q-tip here. We're going to grab just a little blob of it. Get those stupid string things out of there. Okay, so now we need to take and tip the wing up on end. And you know what? This time we're going to hit a better spot in the wing, but we're still going to go ahead and do this anyway. I'm just going to take a couple of pieces of this cotton. I don't know if this gives you guys a better angle than the other wing. Just going to stick that in the aileron opening there. You kind of see what I'm doing. I'm just setting this down. This is going to be like almost like fiberglass here. It's not actually fiberglass because this is cotton. It's a different material than fiberglass. But it is like carbon or like a fiberglass material because of the the nature of the way we're going to assemble it with what's like a resin. This is not resin, it's CA. So we're just going to let that run in there, get that glued. It's going to kind of make a really strong piece here. Okay. Get that stuff in there. Get some kicker in there. Let that work. Wipe up the excess. Try not to take off your marks if you can avoid it. Okay, so that's going to take just a second to set up. Then we can cap off the CA and get this stuff out of the way. Okay, so that stuff's cooking. Nice and strong stench. Still warm. Ooh, really, really hot still. So it's still chemically reacting, which doesn't mean you can't work on it. I was just kind of curious how far along we were in the process. Okay, so now the next step for us is going to be to get some holes drilled. I got to pull the slack out of this cable a little bit. So I'm pulling from down yonder where the cable comes out. Okay, so we've got this where we can lay it. We just want to make sure we don't hit our cable, which is why we're pulling it. Okay. Okay, so now the next step is to verify our hole placement. Everything still looks very good. We get the drill. Going to hold this tight. Okay, very good. So now we can get some screws, which will be hopefully just, yeah, these ones will be just fine. Grab these screws. Get that one started, and we'll jump over to the opposite side probably. Now we don't have to undo this like we did on last one. We should be able to just keep moving. One thing I'm not crazy about on this plane is that these don't have a sweep cover that goes back, because I think they look really cool. I could conceivably go buy them and use them instead, but I guess on this plane we'll see if we have a problem with those getting damaged. I can hear the balsa wood crushing behind the weight of the screws. I hate that noise. I know it's the weakening of the structure. Okay, so there you have it. I would say easy as that, but that was a huge pain in the butt. Okay, so now the next step is to go ahead and get one hole drilled in this, the same, oops, that's the wrong one. Oh, I know that there's some more around here. Where the heck are they? Or maybe that was the only other one. If that's the only other one, then what that means is I will have to trim the other one to match, because I don't want them to be a different size. But I thought I had another one around here somewhere. Evidently I don't have another one from just looking in this pile. So I'll go ahead and take this and make this work for us. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I have to make my hole in here. Now on the other one, our hole is between the first and second of 3 holes. And so on this one it's going to be between the first and second of 2 holes. Okay. And it was centered. You get the drill bit biting, and then you can take your finger out of the way. Okay, so we got that done. And since we know we're going to have to cut these to change their size and shape, I might as well cut them where I'm going to cut them. I'll just cut that top hole off. And then I'll cut behind it and around it just to make it look neat. So then we got to do the same thing to the other side, which I'm going to do right now. Keep you guys up so you can watch. Now this one's a little bit more tricky because it's already in position. Just double checking that everything's the same length, which it is. Cut that off. Cut flush like that. And then back cut the nose. Okay, good enough. They look the same now. Even though they don't have to be shorter like that, it's fine that they are. Okay, so getting back to this one. Our next step is to locate exactly where this needs to be. Now we do want these to be symmetrical to the other side for a variety of reasons, not the least of which is the fact that you want to have an even output on the left and right aileron so that you have an even roll rate. When you roll to the left as when you roll to the right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first of all get a couple of screws ready to rock, which I have them ready now. Stop it. Thank you. And then I need to get my wire started, which we're going to use the same 1mm wire, which is 0.039 inches. So we do this very simply. Looks like that's the sharp end, and then this is the end that I've already finished. So go ahead and take this. We'll get our first bend in it. Get our second bend in it. Now you could conceivably take and do your bending when they were all out of the plane and just copy them exactly that way, but I found that it's actually pretty hard to get them exactly the same anyway. Remember, these are going to be mirror images of one another, but you can also just take and you can just let it if they're going to be mirror images of each other, you can just take and let it flip over 180 degrees, and then it'll also be a mirror image. Okay? So I'm just, here, why don't I show you a wider view if I can do that. Just kind of going back and forth. I want to get on this side. There are some tools out there that you can buy that make this a little bit easier. My experience is that they are expensive and very specialty, and they don't necessarily always do everything that you might expect that they might do. The key is to get good 90-degree bends, 90 degrees to each other, and then that keeps things from getting weak. And know the limits of the wire. Don't ever try to unbend something. If you unbend it, and I'm not talking about like an adjustment, I'm talking about completely unbending it back and forth. You might as well just start with a new wire, because it will break. 100% guarantee it will break. It's like that. I think I made my adjustment a little bit too wide, but I can live with it being too wide. It just doesn't change the proximity to the servo though in this case. So when we do ours, it might be a little bit wider down here on the adjustment, but that doesn't really change the way it operates. So long as it's straight, that's fine. They don't need to be exactly the same dimension there. It'd be kind of nice if it was, but In this case, that's not a concern I'm worried about. Okay, so it looks like we can hook either side. So in this case, we would be hooking right there. And we want the control adjustment to go out toward the wing. So that'd be the outboard side. The other thing is we want the wing to be flat in the home position. And then it looks like we barely overlapped with our plastic on the other one. So I'm going to try my best to get that in the exact same position. I'm going to take my ultrafine Sharpie. Now that I've got that marked, the mark is right where I need it to bend, okay? So now I can take and just validate that by holding it over here. Yep, that's pretty darn close to what I have on the other one. So then you know you're going to have an approximate weight. Just real limited variance. Okay, so now I can hold it back here where it's very sturdy. Make sure I'm 90 degrees true. Then I'm going to fold it back. I'm going to overfold it just a hair. Holding it here, I can overfold it just a little bit. And then I can hold it right out here on the tip. I mean, right out there. And it's going to want to bend my pliers when I do this, okay? Oh, that was just the end falling off. I'm like, what the heck broke? Okay? Now we've got that bent. Okay? So you see I overbent it a little bit. See, that's what I was talking about. You don't have to worry about that. You have to worry about if you bend it, you know, this way, and then you bend it that way, and then you bend it back, it'll break. It'll be very weak, very brittle. Okay, so now I need to cut this. I'll be right back. Alright guys, got this little fancy dance back. Okay, so now we can go ahead and pre-drill our holes, but let's just do one final check. Looks like that adjustment for us is going to end up a little bit more central. So we'll just pick whichever side is a little bit thinner. And I'll show you what I mean by that. Whichever side is less deep here, we'll go on to this. Okay, so we'll slip that on. Then we'll slip this in, just like that. And we're going to quadruple check our marks, make sure we're really happy with the way everything looks before we drill our holes. Which I would say that we're about as good as we're going to get. We're going to be splitting hairs if we try to do any more than that. So we use a drill, hold this thing square, poke our holes through. And we'll go ahead and get our screws through. Okay, so we'll start up here where we can easily control things. More easily control things. Okay. We'll go ahead and take and push down a little bit of pressure. It's like they're communicating to one another. Hey, I don't like this guy. Do you like this guy? I don't like this guy. Okay, so one thing we haven't done on this plane is we haven't resolved whether or not we're going to try to do a backer plate. And you can see the bumps. That's more from the drill than anything. I'm halfway tempted to pull those screws out, put a little CA in there, and be done with it. But I don't know. I don't know. I really honestly don't know. Oh yes, gorgeous. Very pleased with that. Give you guys a wide shot here. You can see both of them working. Flaperons. Oops. Spoilerons. Flaperons. Okay. And that's on a 1 second sweep, so they could go fast. I just have them slowed down on the flap setup menu. Alright guys, so that'll do it for the ailerons. I guess the only thing I've got to decide on the ailerons is if we're going to end up... Let's just pop them out, put a little glue in there. And the thing that's nice about an aileron is that there is redundancy. And redundancy is good because we have 2 ailerons. If you have an aileron that completely fails to operate, many times you can get by. Now that's not to say that if you have an aileron rip off, you can continue to fly. But if you have one that stops moving, then you can usually get by. Okay, so I'm just going to let that run down the threads a little bit. The CA is running down the threads as we speak. And then I'm just running this screw in. And then I'm going to back off this other one and we're going to do the exact same thing. With the understanding that that's just going to go in and spread into the wood fibers. So that way I did that a little bit different just to show you there's 2 ways to skin that cat. So as I put this in, then I'm just going to run it back in like normal. I'm not even going to use kicker because it's not super critical on timing. Then we'll walk over to the other one, we'll get that done. And guys, I can't hardly believe I'm saying it, but I'm very close to being done with this. Well, I'm close to being done with the wings. I've got a little bit more work to do on the wings. On the inboard portion, there's some mechanisms used to hold the wings onto the fuselage that I have to work out. Okay, just realizing I'm over my granite. I don't want to drip on the granite. Although of all the things you could drip onto with CA, it probably wouldn't hurt it. It seems to work a little bit better when you do it that way, when you take out the screw and then you just kind of pump a little bit of CA into the opening there. And I don't feel... I spoke too soon. I do feel there's just a little bit of CA that came through on that. So we'll just go ahead and wipe that off real quick. And then on the other side... Oh, it didn't come through on the other side, so we just lucked out on the other side. Okay, so I guess in that case I'll do just one little drip of CA over the top of these so that it seals up that bottom. And then we'll probably do a little bit of kicker just to kind of set it up so I don't bump into something with it. Now that's tape that's under there, so I want to take this kicker off as soon as possible. Because kicker has a way of making tape not work so well. This side it didn't come through. But I guess I'd rather have it the same, even if it's a little weird. Just one little drip of CA. Let it set up for a second, then quickly wipe it off. Alright, very good. So now guys, I think the next step for us is going to be to probably move into possibly doing the motor, getting the motor installed. The reason I started with this is because I have my little fixture over there that has the motor on it and everything, the ESC and all that good stuff. So, but for now, thanks for watching. This concludes the Aileron install on the ASW, or excuse me, the ASH 26. Don't forget to like and subscribe.